Hi, welcome to an episode of Family DynamiKs. It's Liz.
And Katherine.
And Ed.
And John.
Okay, so we need to talk a little bit about, the dog sitting, the house sitting. There's been a lot going on this summer.
Yeah, there's been a lot of traveling and out of town things and swapping of who's in charge of whose pets.
Yes.
I've even been nominated for some friend pet sitting, and it turns out it's like a staycation because it's so far away, I can't just go feed them and come back. I'm spending the weekend there, which is fine.
That's right. Yeah. And depending on the house, it actually might be a nice thing. But just
at your house.
Yeah, and our sister Rosie was having a party, and she basically asked for her dogs to come down and stay at our house.
It's funny because I went to this party. It was an all-girls pool party for Rosie's birthday, which was a lovely idea. I'd never, I wouldn't have thought of that. It was very fun. A lot of floating in the pool and drinking and whatever. And it took me a while to realize that the dogs were not there. I didn't even, I was like, oh, they are not here. Where are they?
They were boys. They could not be there.
That is true. They are boy dogs. There was no boys allowed. And I don't think she wanted to worry about them getting in or out or just the whole issue. Because one of them has a chronic nasal infection that is kind of molto revolto when he decides to blow his nose.
She is a great dog mom. On the other hand, if dog dad is truly out of the picture, not her favorite thing.
Oh, it's so gross. So they were at my house, and it made me think about, that was one of the gigs I had as a kid where, someone in the neighborhood would hire you to come feed their dog or their cat or, basically monitor their fur babies and their family pets. So, Ethan has not done that yet for any neighbor. He takes mail in and does things like that.
Oh, sure.
But he hasn't really been responsible for, a neighborhood basically pet that he has to monitor. Although we have those two girls that come by, John, and ask to walk the dogs. And first I thought, oh my God, how nice. And they're like, $5, please, after the dogs came back. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, it was a burgeoning business. Did
you think it was going to be free?
I think maybe the first one was free.
I thought they just liked dogs. And it was during COVID. I thought they needed like an activity.
Oh, well, no.
And it was very funny because Luna, our dog, loved it and could keep pace. And Casey was like, what in the hell? I hate this. And had to be walked back. Carried.
There's so many stories. Casey can walk fine. Does she want to walk at anyone else's pace? No. She wants to investigate everything.
So I think these teenage girls were over it and would pick her up and like cart her back.
Teenage might be generous, but sure.
Oh yeah, you're right. They were kind of preteen.
Back in the day, that's what you had the wheelbarrow for. Like, you get the red wheelbarrow behind you, put the dog in there because the dog ain't moving.
Yeah,
Your brother.
I just also think you want to give teenagers responsibility, but it's not the greatest idea because when I did it, I definitely did it for... I don't know if I did it for the neighbor across the street, but there was a single woman that lived 4 or 5 blocks, maybe even 6. And it was also like, hey, I can spend the night here. Oh, God.
How did you even get that little gig?
One of our family friends was friends with her. And I think even used to be her roommate. I'm not going to drop names because these people could still be alive.
Well, just also...
And annoyed?
Sure, yeah.
Had you done it before? Because in my history, now I found that's the real key. Someone knows that you've done it, or the person you're doing it for tells other people, and then all of a sudden you're getting more requests.
So networking. People are like, I'm going out of town. Who watches your dogs when you're out of town?
I just think it was the Killmond household. There were just so many kids, and we were willing to take on these sort of, little
side gigs.
Side gigs.
Any gigs?
Yep. Make a $20 here or there. It was like, okay.
The allowance isn't cutting it this year.
Yeah. And
I have to take some side gigs.
All I can say is thank God cats can survive without being fed for a day or two.
No, jeez.
Because I definitely forgot one weekend. It was like a Friday to Sunday, and I was like, on Sunday, and went over there, and the cat was very irritated at me, but I was like, I'm going to spend time with you and feed you. I'm so sorry. And give you fresh water. And this is why I don't want this responsibility. It was one of those eye-openers where I was like, I don't know if I want the responsibility of taking care of other living things because God forbid.
Well, and it really depends on what that situation is. Because if it's a dog that can get out by itself, now you're not worried about that. Oh, well, it's a cat, or we're not worried ever, just food, a couple times a day or whatever. It really changes because that's your schedule. It's like, well, how many times do I need to be here?
Yeah.
Right.
Because you've watched Rosie and Kirk's dogs, and they're on a schedule, and they don't have access to the outdoors.
Yeah, it's a real like, ooh, so you're coming here like every 4 to 5 hours, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
And they aren't allowed outside because of coyotes in the area. Is that the idea?
Yeah, and I mean, whether that's perfectly accurate or not, it's
a safety concern.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I even just this last one with Rosie. But at your house, Liz, Ethan did assist. Now, on the other, it was just the confluence of circumstance. So Mark is already out of town. Mm-hmm. You are joining Rosie for the sleepover, and therefore all that's left in your house is Ethan and your own dog. So now we're adding 2 dogs, and then it was like, well, John should also be there. But I was like, I already kind of have stuff going on.
I don't really want to be in charge of these 3 dogs and a teenager.
No, it's fine, but it was like, well, and frequently this is how I house sit or dog sit. I'm not there the whole time.
Right.
Now, maybe over a 3-day stretch, one day will end up like, and I was there the whole day and never left. But otherwise, it's like, and I was in and out a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Because I dropped the dog off and it was like, I just come back from the beach. I was like, well, now I'm leaving to go clean up all the beach stuff. So good luck, have fun. So this time Ethan, so he figured out like, oh, you know what? They're not into this dog door. Let's put out another water dish. And then what about, I thought like, oh, you know what? There's this other dog bed. Let me put that out.
Oh, making them comfortable.
Yeah, but Ethan was like, you know what? We need another blanket down here, which ended up being your dog. Luna was like, enjoyed that. So there was space for everybody on the floor. Why that was good. I mean, also in Ethan hanging out doing gaming, he was like, yeah, we're gonna sit here and watch Ethan game. This is great.
Jeez.
So he did help, and then for the evening walk, I was like, well, I don't need to do all these 3 by myself. If you're here, let's go. So he definitely helped.
So you took
somewhat.
Ethan for a walk, actually.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, look, was he leading the charge on feeding them ever? No. But he was, in the world, and he was definitely paying attention to them. So that was very helpful for me because I was not there the whole time. I was in and out, like, the only time I was there was overnight.
So, John, not to put you on a spot, are you either training Ethan to be approved to dog sit, or do you think he's already? Are you giving him an approval, like a thumbs up? Liz, have your son sit for these dogs.
I'm doing neither. Look, I can only, influence Ethan so much. So hey.
As his godfather.
Let's downplay that because it's much less than you would think. Because I also go with the theory of like, well, let him do what he wants to do. If we're hanging out, but he wants to game, have fun, see you later. You can game. So I'm not trying to train him, but he did take some responsibility. So I'm saying that truth. And I am also not saying he's fully ready. He did do something. And could he do it by himself? I think probably. Am I saying that? No. Someone else has to make that determination.
Well, you can't accurately evaluate whether he would or could because he wasn't tasked with actually doing it. So why, he wouldn't have done it all anyway. So you can't be sure what he would do.
I'm saying I am unwilling to give that qualification.
Smart. I think he could do it. But because at that age, I was, like I said, definitely doing it for neighborhood,
Look, let's not get too far down the Ethan track. I mean, just think about how he does chores.
All right. Jeez.
Well, okay. I'll say this. There's a difference between the favor that is asked and requested. I'm still on favor mode for everybody, which is fine. I actually enjoy most of the pet sitting that I do because, being a pet uncle is the best. Mm-hmm. All the scratches, none of the poops. I'm out. See ya. So, you got to pay back a little when you're pet sitting, but I'm mostly in still favor territory where I'm not getting paid to do any of this. So there's a lot of if your cat doesn't like me, I'm totally not into pet sitting for you overnight and hanging out and staying. So there's a little bit of feeding the animal and then leaving. Whereas sometimes my friends, they're gone for a couple days. That pet's lonely. You need to hang out. You need to actually have a heart and show up with a little bit of, empathy as the pet sitter of these are beings and they're alone for 24 hours a day, except for the half an hour you just showed up for food and scratches. Give them some scratches.
That parent goes to work. So I go.
Oh my God.
Goodbye.
Agreed.
Now, when you were a kid, you did house sitting or pet, sitting, didn't you, Ed?
Not that much. I mean, we didn't have pets in the house.
Yes, we
Rosemary's
did.
birds died, or the dogs ran away, or we didn't. I did yard work. Is the majority of where I got my money from.
Have pets growing up, yeah.
And then at 16, I actually worked. I worked at the Rib Ranch at 16, so I didn't really have time for pet sitting. I waited till my friends grew up enough to have their own pets, and then I've entered into the pet sitting.
realm. Yeah.
Which is really like, hey, we're going out of town this weekend. Okay, I can come over. And here's the schedule of when the dog needs the medicine. I mean, I did this for you guys 20 years ago. It was like, oh, so-and-so needs a pill. A pill? I'm not that kind of a dog
Yikes.
sitter.
Yeah.
A pill. Good Lord.
Probably was Bailey.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a Bailey.
When we were children, we would go on these cross-country road trips. And I remember we had animals and pets. And then one of the reasons why, God rest his soul, Bill Parrish stayed with us is because he had come from the back east for a visit. And then mom and dad said, oh, if you could stay for we were gone for like
2-3 weeks.
at least 3 weeks. If you could stay here to house sit, but actually watch, like there was a dog, like, pet sit as well.
And plants.
Yeah, he's
And
supposed
plants.
to water the plants. So that's
Right.
what I recall.
Right. And when we came back, all the plants were dead.
Well,
And then he really didn't want to like leave.
Yes.
And mom was like, you've got to be out before school starts, because he would wake up and, summer was just chaotic in our house. But one of mom's diehard rules was like breakfast was over at a certain point. She did not enjoy breakfast because of the age range up into teenagers running from like, crack of dawn because a baby maybe got up till like 11:30, 12, and a teenager is rolling down with no shirt on and wanting like, what's for breakfast, bowl of cereal. She's like, kitchen closed. So Bill Parrish would basically say, Mary, what have you made for breakfast this morning? She was like, this is not a diner. She would lose her mind. And then we had that intercom system that stopped working at some point, but yet the control panel stayed up in the kitchen for probably a decade plus. But
20 years.
Yeah, but it did work when we first moved in. And so she would beep his room and be like, breakfast is out, it's hot, come now, Bill. And like,
Oh my God, did she really?
yeah,
That's hysterical.
So I distinctly remember him watching the pets and the plants, and the pets were all alive, but the plants did not survive. It was like he made a priority of like, well, keep the pets alive.
It's funny because not being a super pet-oriented person myself, I barely even remember that we would have had that concern that we had pets and needed
geez.
somebody to watch them. Well, even now, I mean, we have a dog, Rocky, number 2, because we had a Rocky before this Rocky.
Although Rocky Sr.
Yeah, this is Rocky Sr. Apparently, the vet has told Eric that he is a super senior, which I'm not sure what that
the heck?
means.
Oh,
I don't,
so like 13 plus maybe.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely. But then, they're also like, he's in great health. He's going to live forever. And I'm like, oh, is he?
I don't think that was the last update. Wasn't it like
Maybe a year?
Yeah, 365 and down.
Well, maybe. I mean, but
Okay.
But also, it's like, but there's nothing wrong with him. So who knows?
Little dogs seem to last a long
They
time.
do.
Like
I-
our
yeah.
Casey, who was a mystery, her age, lasts a long time, but then the decline happened real quick.
Well, at this point, we're just seeing basic, hard of hearing, a little bit of blindness.
Elderly.
Yeah, maybe a teeny bit of dementia.
Which Casey didn't have.
Yes,
No.
she did.
No.
She was so blind and
No,
deaf.
she was
Yes.
fine.
No.
It was shocking. The decline was. I mean, it was. I don't even. It was like off a cliff. It was crazy.
Yeah,
Aw.
it was like, sweet baby girl. So yeah,
Well, so I was just going to say, first of all, we don't really travel very much. And so it doesn't even come up that we would need a dog sitter. But it would like not even occur to me, which is bad. That I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
oh, yeah, we would need somebody.
Oh my gosh! I remember we dog sat because it was when Ed and I was living in an apartment together for Rocky Jr.
What?
Rocky number 1. Who knows? You guys have occasionally traveled.
We went somewhere?
Although-
I'm shocked.
It's so you always forget how much you hate traveling in hotel. You're like, we love hotels. Oh, we hate this hotel.
We
It's
don't like
impossible."
hotels, yeah.
But you can't remember that.
unless it's the Disney. What's the
No,
grand?
you think they
Californian.
con themselves almost
Okay.
every time. Then they get there and they're like, "No, wait a minute, we hate this." But so we had Rocky Jr. And at one point, I forget. Oh, I think I don't know if we were like letting him out in the yard or something. And then it was like, oh, this small Chihuahua apparently fit between the fence. And I found him.
Oh,
like, I was
jeez.
driving home in like the middle of the day, and it was like, oh, hello, 2 blocks away. He was fine, and then he was in the house for the rest of the
seemed
time.
Fine.
In my mind, I just see him getting out of that fence and having a full, eye of the tiger moment. Just running down the street. Rocky.
Homeward bound. He was going to find his way home. He was headed the wrong direction, but
Well, we had Dee Dee, my sister-in-law, watch. It's mostly Casey was our runner, right? If Casey had literally up until the last month of her life. So zero loyalty. If she could get out, out the door.
Well, she needed to explore. It wasn't about you.
Definitely had no loyalty because when we adopted her and they reprogrammed her chip, they basically said, "You're her fourth owner." I'm like, what? I'm like, does the previous 3 want to know where she is?
Poor Cupcake.
Yeah. Oh God, that was her original name. And Mark goes, "I cannot."
No.
I said, "Well, we need to stay in the hard consonant like C because Cupcake, Casey." To not confuse her. So that's what we did. But so they reprogrammed her and we were the owners. Like I said, I was like, the previous 3 of just don't want her back. Like, and I don't know. So she would get out. And one of the stories was basically Dee Dee, she gets back to the house and our other dog, Carmen, is there and Casey's gone. You know, that's a big responsibility when you're watching someone's dog and you're just like, you don't want something to happen. So it's like, where is she? Because she couldn't get out of our property. So, but she was so sneaky that when Dee Dee left, she might have just gone right between her legs. Like she did that a few times. So she somehow got out and a contractor in the area found her and the original little collar we had on her with the tag.
I think you might have told this story because I think I know where this is going. But
and
go.
it was I've told this family within our household, and I don't know that I've told it on the podcast, but sorry, everybody. We put the household number on it. So she is frantic going, oh my gosh, where is Casey? But then she sees like 7 messages on the house line. And yes, we still have a house phone, everybody.
I kind of want one again. Eric made us cancel it. I want a landline.
Oh my
again.
God. I was just in Rosemary's upstairs bathroom because I spent the night at her house. So I was in her, wing of the house. And in her bathroom, there is the outlet with the little, unique input for a wall phone. And I was like, God, just someone taking a shit, making a phone call. Like, why do they not have the phone in here? And I realized I don't think she has a landline in her house at all. So I just was like,
I kind of want one. I think they're good.
I don't know. Get ready for the LAUSD ×4. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
I just love it. Was literally at like you'd be going to the bathroom like, hello. Like it was literally at the height of where you're going to be sitting on the shitter. Like it was so good. And I'm like, and for some reason they didn't remove the outlet. So it's still there. So I was like, oh my gosh. So,
it's possible she just has a mobile handset that she walks around with and just plugs that in. Hold on a sec.
No.
All right, now what are you saying?
No, I don't even think she has a landline at all. I think myself and Virginia and Mom, there's very few of us that have landlines in the house. And it's a common trend. So Dee Dee notices there's multiple messages on the house line. She beep. The first one is, hi, my name is, let's just say, Sam. And I'm a contractor in the area and I found your dog. I'll be at the job site a little while longer. Hit me up and, give your dog back. Beep. While I'm wrapping up, I would drop the dog off at your house, but the address is not on the dog tag. Beep. I'm going to go get some lunch in the area, and then I'll call you afterwards. Beep. Well, I've wrapped lunch. I'm going to go out to a job I have out in Oxnard, which is an hour away. And he's like, I'll take Casey with me. Beep. I'm heading back to your area. Gosh, why'd I ever call you? This dog is just great. She's just so perfect. Beep. Finally, Dee's like, oh my God, where is this guy? He's going to keep the dog. And you know what's so crazy? I think I messed this up. I think this was Mark who experienced all this. And Dee Dee was the famous one where same thing, came home, Casey was gone, messages on the house line, but this was a man found her, brought Casey home to the surprise party that his wife was having.
Oh, and she thought it was a gift.
And she thought it was a gift. And I guess she had like 4 other dogs that might as well have been Casey's twins.
Oh, geez.
So the wife literally thought, oh my God, for me. And the husband's like, no. And oh my God, loved Casey to the point when Dee Dee got Casey back, the wife was literally so pissed, but like not let go of her.
Oh, geez.
And was like, no, this is my birthday present. Dee's like, no, it's really not. Give me that dog back. So, I mean, just like, so then we did change Casey's phone number. So people that were house sitting and so on and so forth did not have to go through this torture to our cell phones. So at least you could actually get a hold of one of us
more quickly.
And she got out at least between our neighbors who knew who she was and would just walk her back. And there were 2 or 3 times that, complete strangers were calling us saying she got out. I mean, probably a dozen plus times. She was so good at it.
If you were checking the mail, you had to be so careful with her.
Did just right out.
Now, did Dee Dee do a lot of dog sitting for you? Or was that,
yeah. Both our old house and this house. It wasn't often where it was like, and you had friends over or hanging out. If she was dating a guy, maybe they'd come over because both of our houses had pools and they would hang out that way and you have free range or whatever. So, yeah, she was our early on dog sitter for sure with Bailey and Carmen, and then Carmen and Casey, and now Luna. So yeah, I mean, we always call family members first. I've never had to board the dogs. Rosie and Kirk, and I think even the Dooleys have boarded their dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've even had to pick up from there. Somehow always, or not always involved, but involved in many ways.
And if you don't get them by the time they close, you're going to charge for another day. So it's like, come on.
Well, I think that was the whole motivation. It's like, we're not getting back till late or whatever, and so pick them up before we get...
Oh, like they'd boarded the dogs for the whole trip, but just at the tail end. Quickly, go get them, John, so that...
Well, with Ginny, there was definitely a plan.
Of
but
course.
Similar with Rosie and Kirk. It was planned out.
Yeah. I didn't mean it was accidental. I just meant like they're
You did, and it was insulting, Katherine.
It's interesting. I feel like out of all the dogs, even the Killmond dogs, all the dogs that we've mentioned in this podcast, there's not a lot of barkers in general. Even the dog that I'm sitting right now, whose name is Barkley.
Oh.
You gotta have barks if you're a 15-pound dog. It's a real small dog. Just whoop, pick that thing up in one hand and tuck it under your arm. But I feel like one of Casey, there should have been barks on any one of those voicemail messages, but one of Casey's things was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm chill. I'm good. This
chill.
is great." Of course, that's why someone falls in love with you.
Yeah, she was chill for that purpose, but one of her traits was, decide I got to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, and I want to go outside. And then, as Mark said or called it, she'd ring the dinner bell for the coyotes in the area and just start barking incessantly. And she'd be
Here
way
I
at the back
am.
of the property, and Mark would be like, "Get in here, get back here, come on." And riff, 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 riff. So as she got older, I don't know if she was using sonar, I don't know what she was trying to find her way back by barking, where am I in the yard? It sounds different over here. So I wonder, I said to Mark, there was a day that I left and came back and the dogs were in the backyard, so they didn't catch that I was home. And they were totally barking like the annoying dogs, and we were the annoying neighbors that have barking dogs. And I go, is this what happens every time we're out?
Yeah. I mean, Casey was definitely, she didn't always pick up on the male person or whatever, but if, the blinds were open and she was in the front room and awake, she might have to bark at that person, but it wasn't crazy. But yes, there was definitely a lot of exploration in the back. No, I think I saw something, or I'm going to communicate about, there was always a lot of that. But I also blame Mark, because at the times that I've slept over, she never woke me up
Exactly,
early.
same here. He, for some reason, I said, we are sound sleepers, John. And she did come over and try to get us up and was like, crap.
Well, yeah, that's
not
what you got to
working.
do. You got to ignore.
Whereas Luna is the soundest sleeper ever and will not wake up we're getting up at 11, fine. It just never bothers you. But I would say the same thing to Mark. I go, Mark, it's the worst night's sleep. Casey got me up. I did put her out. Then it took her forever to get her back in. And then I got her to bed. And then I was just about to fall asleep. And she wanted to go out again. And I had to let her go back out again. And then she was scratching and licking. And I'm going...
That's put her in the garage.
And that's what I'd say. Or just in the main room of the house. And Mark goes didn't you hear all that? And it's no. Nothing. No, it did not disturb me at all. So I do think that she might have been trying to get me up, and I just ignored her. And I never woke up to accidents. So it's just hold it, bitch. Literally. So
I'm seeing a scene from a movie right now of Liz dead asleep, cannot be disturbed. Mark being woken by the dog. The dog's got some emergency. Someone's broken into the house, but it's it's Ethan who's fallen and wearing a hoodie. So everything's fine, but there's an hour of activity and you're just not even.
Well, it's payback because as a mom, the early years were primarily me getting up and dealing with whatever was going on. And for some reason, he would have less of a reaction. Ethan, even by the time he got out of his crib, so obviously breastfeeding and everything would happen in the middle of the night or changing diapers, majority fell on my shoulders. But, not that Mark wouldn't if I nudged him, but I did it for the most part. And then it would be now he's out of his crib. And a few times he did fall out of his bed And I mean, was like, how do you not hear that? Mark would not hear it. Oh, what happened? What? So he seems to have more sensitivity about dogs than he did his own child. But, the responsibility, I had one, oh my God. I don't know why I agreed to it. It was one of my longtime family friends, but she was very particular about just how you took care of everything. And she had a cat, and they were going to Europe for an extended amount of time. And by this time, I was in my early 20s. So I had my own car, and yes, I'll drive over. And she wanted me to spend the night there. And I was like, really? God, okay. But it was also in the middle of summer in the valley. She did not want you to run the air conditioning. So it's like, okay.
What? No.
There was just a lot of her rules and watering the plants and, the cat and the kitty litter box, which is so gross, but still, it was a very sweet cat. And so one of the nights I was like, okay, Mark and I were out late and I was coming back. Just spend the night with me there. And I never cleared whether he could spend the night or not, but she had known me my whole life and knew Mark. So it wasn't like a mystery that I had a boyfriend, right? And her daughter's boyfriends had slept there. So I didn't really think it would be
a big deal.
Oh my God. So I forgot how exactly it went down, except for the fact that we were getting back late. And I probably had been there in the morning and taken care of what I needed to take care of, but I don't think I come during the day.
Right.
And I come back to their house, and there's definitely a vibe something's a little off and different here. So I walk into the bedroom that we're going to sleep in. I turn on the light, and they're back.
Oh, God.
4 days early. So then I'm shitting myself, oh my God, did I? Because, there is the day before or the hours before someone is going to come back, you go through and
clean up a little bit.
Just make sure everything is cross-checked and cleaned up. And now I'm standing with Mark, and it's 12:30 at night. What the fuck are you doing here? And I'm like, did I? Yikes! I did not. I was not here all day during the day. And the thing that really made me shit, also because it was so hot, I even felt for the cat. I'm like, I love the air conditioning on. I know.
No.
And she is the type that would deduct it from my pay or something. She was a little crazy.
Oh, man.
So I had to be oh, we were out to dinner, and Mark is dropping me off, and okay, so you guys are back. Okay, let me get my stuff and check back with you later. I think we had cell phones at this point, or at least pagers. It's could you have given me a heads up? This is so awkward. And the cat's giving me a middle finger. He's so happy.
Should we send a text or call? Well, I only have 99 calls. Each text message is 10 cents. I can't do it.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe back then. But also they came back from Europe because Europe was having this crazy hot spell. And so they were so hot there, and they came back to the valley, and I'm like, to a cool house, bitches. Aren't you happy that I ran your air conditioning for the day? Because, a valley house, if you don't do anything, you can walk in, and even if it's cooled down at night, you can barely cool down the house because it's so hot from the day. So my theory was I'll put the thermostat at 79 or 80, so if the house is getting super hot, it'll only kick on then, and I will turn off to sleep at night. But you're not able to sleep if you're waiting an hour or two for the house to cool down. And of course, I did get lectured about that, and a couple other things the recap. Let's reevaluate your work evaluation for housing. And I'm I almost was don't pay me. It was almost I thought I was sort of doing you a favor, but then there was going to be a little bit of money. So I said, the side hustle and the gig. And you're all right. And you're I don't think I want to do this anymore.
FYI, I'm going to just randomly show up on your laundry day, and I'll give you an evaluation of how your house looks on that day instead of when I came over to stay for a week and you'd cleaned it before I got there.
I just remember that same situation. I watched their house during more of winter cold months holidays because it was raining, and they lived on a hill, and it was almost like a river going down their driveway. And one of the girl's boyfriends had gone on the trip, and he had parked his car in front of the house. And I come back, and I'm the car doesn't look right to me. It looks angled.
Oh, no.
So someone had sideswiped the car.
Oh, geez.
And sort of tilted it out. Well, I didn't even have the keys to this car. It was kind of a sports car. So it's sort of it's sticking out now. And someone had put a note, but it had rained. So it's oh my gosh. So now I'm trying to locate them in Europe to be hey, is there someone that can get your car? Where are their keys? Because it can't stay the way it currently is because it's sticking out sort of too much into the street. So tracking them down to figure out all that. And I'm oh my God, the responsibility of cars, cats, your plants, I don't know, your air conditioning unit. This might be too much, this job. This might be too much for me. So, I was just oh my God, wait, someone hit the car? Oh my God. I can't, because I parked on the street. They had cars in their driveway, so I was on the street as well. It wasn't like I was taking a prime spot, but it was a lot. So I don't know, and I feel like I'm pretty lax when people watch my house. But there are different times you come back and you're like, oh well, I don't know if anything ever bothered me where you were Eddie or you ever watched my house.
I don't know, not this last time, but the time before, it was like, a couple days or whatever. And I don't know, somehow the last day, everybody in their AC is always so, a lot of stuff going on. On the other hand, I don't really care that much. So I will often just oh, you're worried about it? How about I didn't even have it on ever?
Oh,
so you came back, I think, even at night.
Sweat
it was
lodge, okay.
Real hot at night. And I don't know if you loved that.
No, I was like, John! He's hot boxing us. What is he trying to do? This is
No,
awful.
not hot boxing.
I still gonna stick by that. I like that. So it was like a sweat lodge. Yeah, I remember that. The Mark, of course, does not want to turn the air. He wants to open up every window, and I'm just going, this is not working. Can we go walk around the mall, like to cool off?
Yeah, but otherwise, Ed is frequently, because what ends up happening is if you and Rosie are going on a trip, then now two houses need house sitting at the same time.
Yes.
So I'm over at your house all the time for work anyway, so it would be John. But Rosie and Kirk frequently claim me first.
Ooh. Yeah, that's one of her sneak moves. It really irritates me.
I don't know why you don't just automatically have a dogs are on vacation too. They're having a sleepover. Sorry, John, it's 4 dogs.
Well, you
and
also
Ed can come over and help with all the dogs at that point.
Sucks.
But at least it's one location.
But it actually sucks with current time. Crime is
You want somebody in the house.
You kind of want someone in and out of your house versus it's a standing empty house for days on end. So I kind of get it. It's like, okay.
Well, I think, and what it really boils down to is Rosie does not have an alternate, really. Whereas you have Ed, you have Dee Dee, there's other people.
Well, Dee Dee is less and less because, she lives with her partner, Fred. And so she really only likes to do it if there's the perk of Ethan. So it's more of Mark and I go out of town. She'll take on 1 or 2 of the nights to hang out with her little dude, her nephew.
Well, fine. Put yourself, you have no options. There you go.
So, but
I definitely have taken advantage of the house sitting part of the dog sitting part at your house. Your house is very nice. I had my friend Amber over, I don't know, 2.5 years ago. We had a pool party that afternoon.
Yeah.
We had some champagne.
Yeah.
I think we broke a glass. And I let you know.
Jeez,
And
Ed,
that was
come
it.
on.
That
and
happens.
the dogs were alive, and you came back from your vacation, and the house wasn't burned down. So
yeah, no,
that's the deal.
there's the price to pay, and that's why even going back to that house I watched, I was like, okay, your house is still standing, nothing broke, nothing with, do I really need to be scolded as an adult?
It was also not burglarized because I was here. So.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. I don't know. This is hard to reconstruct. It feels like you don't go out of town as much as we think you do, but I think there may have already been 3 this year, which seems a lot. So I think it was early this year. Casey was still with us. And there were a lot of accidents. It was this is not my fault, but there are a lot of accidents happening.
What do you mean accidents?
Bathroom accidents for these dogs.
Oh.
Yeah.
I felt like Casey was because of the elderly issue.
Well, even before that, she had a little bit of attitude. If it rained, she did not want to go outside. And you're like, what? You still need to go outside.
Screw this. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, what if I have an accident inside then?
And always on the carpets. We have so few carpets in our house. It's I'm going to find the one
Always.
Carpeted room because I'd like it to be
I need
soft.
to find the indoor dirt.
Ugh.
No, that's a carpet. Oh.
And I think Luna was like, well, all right, if she's doing it, I'll do
No,
too.
Luna, it's always hard to detect. She's it's funny. When I would house sit, you take them out. Okay, we're about to go to bed. We're going to close up for the overnight. Let's go outside one more time. Luna would be like, I do nothing on command. But on the other hand, seemingly she doesn't have a lot of accidents. But anyway, Casey, I feel like there's a lot of attitude happening. So even this last time, we were in a pre-decline phase or whatever phase we were in. I don't know. I think there was still some attitude in there.
Oh, up until basically 2 days before she died, there was total tude.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So it's yeah, I could go outside, but what if I don't?
Oh my God, I don't know. No, and I never had an animal die on me or go missing or be injured or hurt, which was like, thank God. Because it's a big responsibility, and it's, animals and of course kids. I'm a little over, like, if you're not related to me, because then you'll have to forgive me, I might be over this, like, for sure.
I definitely saw a black cat running through the backyard when I was pet sitting recently, and my heart stopped for a second, like, what the fuck is the cat doing outside? It's an indoor cat. Oh, it's a different black cat. Well, where the fuck is this cat?
Oh,
It is real hard to find a black cat in a house that's got all the windows closed that you're not familiar with, who likes to go under things. You're like, what fucking thing are you under
cats
now?
can hide for days. I mean, they'll be total douches about it.
Thankfully, I'm allowed to keep a lot of the doors closed, so there's limited under things that I can go find. But there was a solid hour one time when I was cat sitting for these friends. I was like, I don't know where your cat went. I have tried to look under all the things, and it was a really dark corner underneath the couch. Really? Come on, cat.
That is one of my favorite. I feel like actually, even this time, Luna, one of the things she does like to do is, what's in the trash? I'm going to take it out.
I know.
And so frequently what I will do, because I also feel like bathrooms are just, they attract the pets. They're like, well, I want to mess around in here. What's the deal with the toilet paper? It's like, no.
What are you guys doing here with the door closed? I don't know. I'm going to try and figure it out.
Yeah. So even bathrooms is one thing. I also do the bedrooms. It's like, guess what? If I'm not going in there, you're not going in there. So,
Door shut.
Kids' bedrooms, all these doors shut. We're in the public areas. Let's see what happens. I will notice. So yeah, that's my usual method with that. Although, yes, I mean, I guess two of my more serious incidents. Look, it's all easy, house or dog. It's easy when everything's going right. When there's a car accident, a little more challenging. Kirk and Rosie, at I guess 2 houses ago, there was a gate, and this was more of the time they were less worried about coyotes because they were kind of there was no like hill access.
Right. Yeah.
If you were there, like Kirk's office, the sliding door would be cracked, so they would have access to the backyard. Now that's not the case anymore, but at the time, so they have access to the backyard, and then there's like, it wasn't really a dog run, but whatever. It was the alley at the side of the house. And it was ridiculous. Apparently, this has happened a couple times, and they tried to, they've been working on changing it, but their bigger dog, still with us, Astro, would dig out under the gate and then like
what?
Yes. So then would escape, and usually Rocket would go with him. Like, well, we're going out. Like, well, I'll go
Adventure
out too.
time.
So they had done this a couple times. So they did that once to me. So he came. I wasn't even home yet. I was at work or whatever. And then you get a call like, well, the neighbors called. They have them. And I was like,
geez.
What? Okay. So that happened once. And it was like, well, I guess I'm, you're like refilling the dirt. And like, what if I put some bricks in front of it or something? Like, do not do this, you stupid dog. What are you gonna do? But
Where are you going?
They kind of investigate. It's so irritating. But they didn't go very far. Apparently, frequently, they would just like either hang out on their own front lawn or like next door front lawn. They're like, this is way better.
Oh,
So
we needed a
dumb.
break. We gotta get outside.
Change of a view.
Yeah.
Change of view. Yeah.
So bored with the backyard.
So that's a little bit of a softball, but the real bad one did happen. So this was a set of friends that I worked with, or really a friend, and then I guess I met their family, right? So they would do like summer trips or whatever. So it ended up being like a week or 2 weeks frequently in summer where, they were all gone. So I would be house sitting, and they didn't have any cats, but they did have a gerbil, I think, and a fish. So I feel like there was a fourth type of animal, but I can't remember now.
Not a hermit crab.
No, that was, the Dooley's, that was a short window. And you really frequently...
the hermit crab's already gone?
Yes. That was super short. You didn't hear about that?
No. Oh my God.
So yes, so this was slightly different. Although the hermit crabs and even the gerbils now, it's like nothing happens. They don't finish their water or their food in 2 days. So you look.
You could almost leave for a week if you stock them up. They don't overeat. They don't really do anything.
Well, the gerbils are weird. It's like you feel like they're overeating and overdoing things, but there's always still more food. So I don't know. They're fine. So anyway, so this family, it was like, okay, you're feeding the gerbil, fine. You're feeding the fish, easy, no big deal. The dogs were both very nice. They were slightly troublesome. You had to walk them separately because, and I mean, you could probably handle it, but like, other dogs or other people, like they're going to get agitated and they're going to really go for it. So trying to handle 2 at the same time, they're like, just walk them separately, which was like, sounds good to me. That's what I'll do. Once around the block, 1 each. Let's go. But what did happen one time was, it's so, you leave for where they go to work or you go to dinner or you go to a movie. Like, I'm not there all the time. That is part of the deal. Anybody who's using me, I am not going to be there all the time. So coming back from, it was, movie or whatever, it's like 10:30. So it's not 2 a.m. It's not like, oh, I've been gone for 20 hours. It's like, no, I've been gone for like 4 hours. I saw them, at 5 p.m. or probably, more like 8 p.m. when I finished work. But, so now I've been gone for a couple more hours, coming back. Yeah, there's weird noises coming. I was like, what's going on? Let me go to the back, hallway where it's like, that was their like access point. They're closed off from the rest of the house during the daytime or, when you're not there. One of the dogs is like cowering. What's the deal? Where's the other dog? Okay. So then you go back outside and it's like, what's that? Wait, what just ran? Like I just saw a blur in the backyard. Was that a coyote? Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's quite terrible. It was so.
A coyote got in the backyard?
Oh yeah, I mean they can. I'm suspicious of your yard. They're
wily.
Yes, they are wily coyote. They're tough. And there was
and they're sneaky.
Yeah, there was a theory because it's like it's not just your gate; it's someone else's gate. And like, did they the trash can was near this and whatever, and they froggered over your gate somehow that you didn't plan for.
Parkour.
No, Frogger. We're gonna go with that. So yeah, and it was like, oh, this is like over. This is the rest of this dog. Fully already died. It was very sad.
Oh God.
So then it was like, oh great, now what do I do? And they're on vacation, but you're like, okay, well I'm gonna send a text like. I don't know if I sent it that night or like waited till the next day because it was like already nighttime. And I think
they could be on like the East Coast or another country, so hours and hours ahead of sleep.
Yes. So time difference, it was like, all right, wait until the next day. It's like, I have something to talk to you about. Slightly serious, give me a call when you can. So then I was like, oh, great. Now I got to tell you why you're on vacation. What do you want me to do? Yeah. So then it was like, all right, I'm doing all those things. So it was very sad. They were both very cute dogs. It was very sad for there to only be one of them at that point.
Oh, that's such a bummer. That's what I'm saying, that level of responsibility, and there's nothing you really could have done to avoid it. Especially because if you have dog doors, we have dog doors.
Yeah.
And those dogs are, being taken care of similar to how they would have if they were home.
Yeah, I mean, that's always, it's so tough because you want to feel like, look, if someone said, no, you have to be there all the time, you're like, oh, okay, well, let me think about if that's even possible. But then secondarily, you're like, as if you people don't go out to dinner or movies and are gone for, periods
work
of time.
and whatever, of course.
And coyotes are total assholes in the sense of they will scope out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why Casey throwing back to when she'd go outside and be barking at 3 a.m. It's like, you literally are telling everybody you're out here. Like, what are you doing?
No, like you said, it was a very, Casey was like, you are attracting it. This is going to go wrong at some point. It didn't, but yes, it was worrisome.
Oh, you feel so bad. It's like, oh, yeah. That's why I said outside of family, I'm like, nope. Because we've had doggy sleepovers where we've had the 2 male dogs have come over, and at the time, it was 2 female dogs were very much like, this is so exciting at first. And then when the hell are they leaving? Like,
well, these sets of dogs between you and Rosie are somewhat accustomed to each other.
Right.
But they're like, well, this is not my space. And, sure, I can lay down on this carpet or whatever.
It's not my jam, yeah.
But, like, this isn't my place. And the other dog's like, this is my place. Why are there? But, like, sure, I can hang with them, but, like...
They're side-eyeing each other, like, the whole time, like, oh.
It's very tense, I would imagine.
Well, it's very, very napping tense, Well, we're all laying down, but are we happy about it?
Well, and you better not be staying. We don't want to stay. That's
I was going to say, I know that you dog sit for the Dooleys quite a bit, and Ginny's so cute. She's like, John always walks the dogs, which I guess she doesn't walk the dogs that much. Like, that's not their thing.
That was a recent conversation. Yeah, because that's the other thing. Look, you got to tell me what the responsibilities are. If you don't say walk the dogs, I'm not going to. Like, Romans are iffy walkers, so it wasn't always part of the deal. But now, Rosie and Kirk have really been like, no, we need to be walking these. I mean, they don't even really have outside access, so it makes sense. So it's been like, okay, fine. You really want me to walk the dogs? I'm going to walk the dogs. Great. And then it was like, it feels like there's been a lot of times in the last couple of months. So I kind of got into a rhythm of like, well, apparently I should probably just do this for everybody. Because why not? Why wouldn't I? Except... scheduling wise, it's irritating. And especially when it gets hot and now we've got limited times where this works out. I'm not going to have them walk on, 200-degree sidewalks.
Yeah, that is really bad for them.
If it's too hot for your feet, it's too hot for their feet.
That's the rule.
Oh, for sure.
So anyway, yes, this is a new thing. And I did talk to them, or I talked to Ginny, because it was like, well, how much are these dogs being walked? Or like, Shasta is always running around, so she's fine. But it's like, Harley is a big lay downer.
I want to give Harley all of the attention of a German Shepherd and all the love and all the scritches. But then you get close enough and you're like, you're kind of shaped like Doug from Up.
Yes.
You're just the wrong. You're Doug, but you're like colored like a German Shepherd. This is great.
But it's the eyebrows, I feel
Yes.
like. She has a perfect face. And maybe the ears are smaller, but yes, it's less German Shepherd, more Doug. But anyway.
Squirrel.
Yeah. So anyway, we did... Last time, it was like around 4th of July. It was like 3 or 4 days, and it was like each day, and they were very psyched. And I knew I didn't know her neighborhood incredibly well. It's like, well, I know how to get there. I don't know these other streets that I'm never on. So it's like
Right.
each day, a different set of streets. Okay.
They live on a hill. It's pretty good.
Find their way
Pretty good
back.
action.
John showing in the terrain.
Those are good sized dogs too. My current dog sitting situation requires a dog walk. That is its bathroom route, so that's fun times. You got to pick that up on the way and then carry it back with you.
Oh, Lord.
And those friends of mine also had a previous dog that passed, which was really sad. It was a shelter dog, and it was a greyhound, like full-size greyhound, that just was having a hard time finding its spot in any other houses. So it was a great dog. They had it for like years. I actually fell in love with the dog and sat for it. The first time I sat for it, I found out the hard way, it's not always dog walking. Sometimes it's dog running.
A greyhound?
I pulled my fucking shoulder out, and my shoulder still is whacked. Like years later, I still work on my shoulder a little bit sometimes. But it was just the first time that I walked the dog. I was like, oh, like I'm a runner. So I'm down. What do you want to do? I ran that dog around the block for the rest of the time that I sat it. It's awesome. And
Did it shit on the go? I mean,
it came to a full stop. It had to do its business. I'm like, okay. I was not ready. I'm like in flip-flops, bruh. But their
my
current
God.
dog, which is a very tiny little dog, it was really pulling on the leash. I'm like, maybe if I just jog with you. Oh, full speed sprint for you? Fantastic. So the tiny little dog is like, Ed's here. We're going for a run. Stop, plant, pee. Stop, plant, pee. Poo. Then the rest of the block. But it's good.
my
It's
gosh.
I'm out there a little jog with the dog. It's fun.
Yeah, I've used the running technique mainly when it's like, I have little time, and you are not stopping. We are continuing, and this is over.
Well, so I think this summer has ended. House sitting is, I don't know how much neither one of you over the holidays, we'll see. But
Summer is ended. It's August.
Well, it's winding down. School is
I don't know
coming
more
back.
trips. I have no more trips planned. How about that?
Yeah, it says you right now. But yes,
True.
school is coming back, which is in August, ridiculously.
It's too hot.
It's too early. But
Yes.
yeah.
It's too hot for summer to be over? I'm confused.
Well, listen, a whole career launched it was like 20 years ago when like dog walking, dog sitting, it became a true like career you could have. I actually saw someone I went to high school with. I walked at my front door and there was a guy walking by with like 7 dogs, and I'm like, John? His name was John, not you, John. And he's like, oh my God, hi. And I'm like, what's going on? And he basically said, like, I'm a physical trainer and I also do this and da-da-da. And he's like, if you ever need your dogs walked, I'm like, okay. I was like, wow, that's crazy. I'm like, but he did it for quite a few years. And I don't know if I ever took him up on it, unlike those girls who didn't tell me their rate up
They
front.
suckered you.
Yeah, it's all good.
Hey, man, that's not a bad rate. $250 for each girl. That'd be fine.
Yeah, their rate they struggle with the business aspect of this business. Their rate has
That's true.
fluctuated a lot. Just recently, it was $2. I don't know why. They were like, oh wait, did you have a package? I was like, I don't think she does.
Like a
This-
package deal. Oh my God.
which we've done with them, but this time was like, whatever, just one.
Are you on
one
our
walk.
subscription dog walking service?
Yeah, I feel like
Do
she
you
still
have our
owes
app?
me because there was one time where I'm like, I don't have change. Here's 10 and just come back for more walks. She's like, okay.
We made it through most of that, I believe.
That's true. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Family Dynamics with a K. Please follow us on all of our social, and that's at Family Dynamics. Like I said, with a K. We appreciate it. We also have our Patreon. And thank you for joining us on
Family
Family
Dynamics.